The LEGO Pick-a-Brick wall is an amazing option to get cheap bricks for building your MOCs. But is it possible to build an entire MOC with the limited selection of bricks that LEGO provides at the walls? In this video we are going to find that out by building an Imperial Base with not one, but two boxes from the Pick-a-Brick wall. Before we start building, let's get a quick overview of all the bricks that we got available for this challenge. I filled both boxes to the brim with all kinds of bricks that I thought could be useful for this challenge. First I got a bunch of plates and tiles, like these 6x8 plates or these dark tan 2x2 tiles. These will be essential to lay the base for the MOC. Next up we have a bunch of bricks, especially some masonry bricks for texturing and some brick modified to create angles and other techniques. I also got a few filler bricks in some crazy colors. Now we get to what actually gave me the idea for this build, and that were those trans blue cheese slopes. And that will also be the theme of this build, some like beach area with a large body of water nearby. I also got a bunch of slopes in white and tan. I also got a bunch of green and pink leaf pieces and other plant parts, just to create some interesting contrasts in the build. And last but not least, I got some random pieces like those seats, ladders or giant trans clear windows. I'm not sure what I want to do with them, but I'm sure they will be useful. Now it's finally time to stop talking and start building. The first step is to build a solid foundation for the MOC. Because there are no base plates at the Pick-a-Brick wall and they wouldn't fit in the box either, I had to do this with smaller plates and some filler bricks to connect them. For the main part of the base, I built a raised platform with the larger plates I had available. But to extend the platform further to the front, I had to get creative with some smaller plates, and I connected them to the main platform with slopes. I extended the base by one stud to get more room to build and to create a smoother transition from the ocean to the beach. I also put in more smaller plates so the base doesn't fall apart when you look at it. The foundation for the base is now finished. So the plan for the rest of the MOC is to build some water right at the front, then we got a little beach area, and then we have the main base. I want to build it using just two walls so you can look into the inside easier. Now let's build the beach and the water area. The first thing I did was to remove those slopes to hold the plates together, because I just couldn't fit them in really and they were way too high on one end. So instead I used 2x2 plates to hold everything together. Building the beach area was definitely no easy task. Since I only had those 2x2 tiles and jumpers available, I couldn't really fill in all those gaps. So to fill the gaps I used those 1x1 tiles in a bluish color. They don't fit really well, but they were the only option I really had from the Pick-a-Brick wall. After finally finishing the beach area, it was time to make the water. For that I placed hundreds of trans blue 1x1 cheese slopes. This definitely took way longer than I expected and was an extremely boring task, but I really like how it turned out at the end. The water is now finished and I think the work was totally worth it. I especially like how the light breaks in all those different angles and it doesn't look so flat like when it's just tiled off. There are still some gaps in the beach due to the round plates, but I'm going to solve those later on. For the plate that sticks out of the water, I'm going to build a bridge to cover it all up. Now the next step is to build the door and the walls of the base. I experimented with building a sliding door that goes up and down, but if I wanted to incorporate this into the base, I had to make the walls 3 bricks thick and way higher than I originally expected to do. So instead I built a door using those large curved trans clear windows. To build the door into the base, I first had to remove some of the parts from the beach to tile off the area where the door swings out. To keep the gaps next to the door as small as possible, I displaced the walls by half a stud using jumper plates. I tried to bring some texture to the walls with masonry bricks, but since I had no 1x1 bricks, I had to use those 1x3 bricks in a neon color. The only 1x1 bricks I had were those brick modified with 2 studs on the sides. I'm going to use those to cover the walls with leaves later on. I originally built the wall on the side without jumper plates, but to connect it to the roof and the other wall later on, I had to add some jumper plates underneath it as well. I must be honest with you guys, I don't think the walls are the highlight of this base, but for the limited selection of bricks I had, I think they look pretty alright. In the back of the base I added another pillar so the roof doesn't fall down so easily. Speaking of the roof, for that I used basically every other plate that I had still available and patched them together just to cover the area. So I added the roof to the base, but it still looks very plain right now. So it's time to cover it with some plants. And let me tell you, I got a lot of plant pieces. Since I had absolutely no tiles left, I used those large dark green leaves to cover the floor. Then I built multiple different plants with those botanical pieces and placed them all around the area. I also made a small ventilation cover for the hole that is still left in the roof. I scraped together all tiles I had left to build a small path leading up to the ventilation shaft. The plants are definitely a great way to cover up some ugly spots. I especially like how they look at the front walls. The roof is still not the best creation I ever made, but it definitely looks way better now. Next it was time to solve the last problem of this build, and that was the 2x2 plate sticking out of the border. So for the bridge I used brick modified to build it in a snot technique to make it look like tree trunks. On the sides I used some round tiles just to make the build more interesting. For the interior of the base I built a mini model of the base, a chair, another chair, and a power generator to keep everything running. I connected the power generator to some kind of battery box. I had no tiles left over, so I had to keep the studs open. The only thing left to do now was to add in the minifigures. For the Empire to protect the base, I chose 3 stormtroopers and 1 officer. Then to attack the base I got 3 rebel troopers. Well, technically 2 of them are from the resistance, but I don't care. Now that the minifigures are placed, the build is finally completed. And for the limited amount of bricks I had available, I think it turned out pretty great. My favorite part of this base is definitely the water. I really like the texture and depth it gains through the cheese slopes. I still have a lot of parts left over, but none of them would really fit into this build. There were definitely a lot of bricks that would be way more useful for this build, like 1x1 bricks or more tiles. But if I had all parts available that I needed, this challenge wouldn't be difficult anymore. A couple months ago I already made a similar challenge, so let me know in the comments down below which base do you prefer, and definitely go watch the other video if you haven't already. And until then, have a great day.